fellow investors. Welcome to another episode of Ritter on Real Estate, where we teach you how to passively invest like a pro. Today, my guest is Johnny Wolff. Johnny is the CEO and founder of HomeRoom Co-Living, one of the fastest growing co-living companies in the United States. And Johnny's going to talk to us today all about what co-living is and how that's disrupting the real estate industry. And I think he's got a couple good anecdotes to share with us as well today. So Johnny, thank you so much for coming on the show and thanks for being here.
Yeah, Ken, thanks so much for having me, man. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Yeah, so let's start out. Just tell people a little bit more about who you are and about how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah. So I started my career as a Silicon Valley. Let me start at the beginning. I'm a founder and CEO of HomeRoom Co-Living. We're at livehomeroom.com if you want to check us out. I started my career in the Silicon Valley as a financial analyst and, work for startups and large technology companies. But in the meantime, late at night, I was like doing spreadsheets and analyzing real estate deals. That was like what I was really excited about. I couldn't wait for my day to be over so I could get home and do that. And in 2015, I said, hey, I'm going to move to Austin. I'm going to invest in real estate way more aggressively. I'm going to put a lot of my time and effort, even during the daytime there, bought about $1 million in real estate. And since Austin did very well, my returns on that real estate portfolio was a bit above 500% annualized. So strong. And what powered that was the roommate model that I used for those properties. Moved to Kansas City to diversify my real estate holdings and was looking for a roommate. And kind of as you alluded to, I had some fun roommate stories. So had a pretty dicey roommate experience and realized that there needed to be a better option for people looking to find roommates. And as someone that had done a lot of out-of-state investing myself, I thought, hey, can we pair out-of-state investors, make that better and give them the great returns from roommate housing that I was getting? So I launched HomeRoom in the end of 2018. It's been not a smooth ride by any means, but we've had a really nice run over the last 12 months. Recently got into Y Combinator. Our sales are up about 500% this year. A lot of really happy investors, a lot of pretty satisfied roommates. So that's me.
That's awesome. So tell us about, what is co-living? What is the concept?
Yeah, so co-living is, it's the sharing economy. It's the Uber, it's the, all these gig economy things that basically said, how can we use technology and layer it on old concepts and make them better, right? With food delivery, it used to be like you get the pizza guy and it was okay, but it was also pretty dicey and maybe they wouldn't come or you couldn't track them. Then you layer technology and now you can see where the person is. You can talk to them in real time. So taking technology and layering on to roommate living is what HomeRoom does. We use machine learning to pair roommates, so it's a better fit. We have an app so the tenants can interact with our service team in real time, pay automatically, and network across the community. And investors have, a very seamless experience in purchasing and managing their property as well. So it's just an upgraded, Web 2.0 version of remote investing and roommate living.
Gotcha. So are there two parts to the business? There's do you own the real estate or are you selling the real estate to investors? How does that piece of work? How do you get the houses?
Yeah. So, I think the easiest way to kind of go through that is an actual example of one of our investors. The lenders bought a property in early 2019. They've been one of our longest standing investors. They had no real estate investing experience. They knew that they wanted to diversify their cash into real estate. So they talked to us. We helped guide them through the process of learning real estate 101 fundamentals. And then we actually found the property, did the underwriting for them and shared it with them and then went through how the numbers work. And then they got the loan through one of our partners and bought the property. And then our team set it up for co-living. And what that means is occasionally we'll add bedrooms. We always furnish the common areas and kitchen because roommates have trouble, like who's going to buy the couch? What if they leave? So you really want to kind of establish a safe kind of space that's centrally owned. And then the investor just gets checks every month. So once they've kind of learned, we really want investors to buy a bunch with us, and we really want them to understand how it all works. So a lot of my real estate investing background and our team's background has been put into the process for our investors, so they can learn to understand what they're doing and make good investment decisions.
Gotcha. So you're taking folks who want to invest in real estate, you're
Mhm.
providing guidance, and then you're providing essentially turnkey rentals. Is that right?
Yeah, it is turnkey. Well, in the sense that we take care of all the effort and stress, but we buy these on the MLS typically. And we because we're using roommate housing, we can increase the rent 50 to 70%. So we take a property that has a decent cash flow and make it a really good one in a really good area. And so that allows, it's turnkey in the sense that the owners don't have to do much except for kind of follow our guidelines, but it's not something where we flipped a property in a low quality area to them and made a huge markup.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And so explain to me how this roommate model increases your profits so much.
Yeah, so it really depends, we found that, incrementally a bedroom above 3 bedrooms, you make more money. And the more rooms there are, the more you'll make. With some of our properties that are 5, 6 bedrooms, like Austin, they allow 6 bedrooms. You can make 70 or 80% more. We have some houses where the rent is 100% more.
But explain how that works, right? Essentially, you are,
Mhm.
instead of renting the whole house, you're renting each bedroom individually, similar to student housing. Is that right?
Yeah, you're on each bedroom individually. Each person has their own individual lease, we call it a roommate member agreement, and those can be between 3 and 24 months, really up to the roommate. We offer pretty flexible options, and yeah, we lease you out each one of those rooms. And so when if a property rents for $700 and you have 6 rooms and you can get 500 per, now you're getting 80% more rent than you would in a traditional rental. We have a lot of examples that are exactly those numbers I just said.
Gotcha. No, that makes sense. And so
Mhm.
is it, and then how are you charging a property management fee? How are you monetizing the property on your side?
Yeah, we have 2 models for our investors. One is if folks, want less risk, we'll guarantee rent. That'll be a bit lower. It'd be, let's say it rents for 1,700 or the total is 3,000, we would give you 70% of that. So you get 2,100 guaranteed regardless. Most of our investors choose the other option, which is 15% of rent goes to us, 85% goes to them. In which case their average would be about 2,500 of the 3,000.
Gotcha. And then, so talk to me about the technology aspect of it, which really sounds like sourcing the roommates. So tell us how the other side of the equation works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we source roommates from all the traditional sourcing options, syndications, apartments.com, Zillow, Zumper. We also are on all these roommate sites, Roomster, Roomie app. There's a number of those. Also, Facebook Marketplace, Facebook groups. Kind of these are all the top of the funnel options where we generate leads.
Yep.
Once they go through that checkpoint, they come in and they're able to actually take a virtual tour of any property that HomeRoom offers. They're able to kind of apply instantaneously, and we can actually return that around in 15 minutes and give them a yes or no. And then we would do kind of part of the application includes some basic compatibility checks that we use for our machine learning model. So, yeah.
Gotcha. So what is it that makes roommates compatible? What have you learned? What have your machines learned?
What have our machines learned? Should ask them. They're not very talkative. Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. It seems to be that the number one attribute actually isn't something that we can necessarily test for because it's almost impossible to ask, is kind of empathy, forgiveness, and sort of giving more to the community than you take.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be the number one. We have all these machine learning models, and
Yeah.
people that are a bit more giving, a bit more empathetic, a bit more understanding and forgiving tend to get along regardless of these other attributes. The attributes we typically test for are you late night, early morning? Do you like to have people over, or do you like to go out? What sort of social life do you have? Are you a work or a play kind of person? So that makes
sense.
Yeah, those all help a bit. But at the end of the day, it really is about mindset and like, are you a part of a community that you give or you take? And if you have enough people that give to the community, we found that works regardless
Yeah.
of most other attributes. So
I'm curious, do you include any type of like a personality test in your
thank you.
testing to try to get to that empathy aspect or that giving aspect?
No, we could. I think, you start to get in the practicality of sales and
Mhm.
marketing, and the longer the funnel is, the more obstacles you put in the way of the funnel,
Sure,
the more you lose.
sure.
So we obviously, personality tests would be great, but who's going to do it? Who's going to spend 45 minutes? So we're trying to do the best of both. That's what we have. Pretty simple criteria, pretty
Yeah,
simple feedbacks.
I got you. But it sounds like you have a pretty sophisticated top of the funnel as far as sourcing leads. I mean, that is huge because just coming from my background of owning apartment buildings, I mean, it's very much, I've learned that the bigger your funnel is and the more people that you can bring through, the
Mm,
more that allows you to, one, keep your apartments occupied, but also allows you to continue to raise rents because you have a larger pool of folks to come from. It's where that funnel is thin is where properties get into trouble. And so you've built out a gigantic funnel and you're able to source folks in a very broad way, right? So you bring a lot of I guess I imagine your properties stay pretty full because you're casting such a wide net. You have such a large outreach, and then you kind of funnel people into the right fit from there. But that big
yeah,
funnel seems to be like part of that, part of what really makes this work and really adds value.
yeah. It's universal. I think of that you don't see I think a lot of property managers rely purely on syndication to
Mhm.
source, and
Right.
I think there's probably about 50% more leads out there with people using more creative means, and so we just have been getting really good at those
Been
things.
really able to tap into that. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I appreciate that because I agree that, a lot of folks just say, okay, we're on apartments.com, like we're doing enough. But I think there are so many more sources out there these days, like you alluded to, or Facebook or others, where you can generate a ton of leads. And I don't think there's enough people out there really pushing that. Even on the apartment side of things. I know you guys deal more with single families, but on the apartment side of things as well. I
Yeah,
think that
no,
there's
I
something
agree.
there.
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, marketing is always about staying, surfing the wave, right? The further out you can, and so, we're messing around with TikTok a little bit. That's when you start to get a little extreme, right? But,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
and I don't,
influencer marketing.
we're messing around with that too. Yeah. So it's all, you reach the outer edges, and some of the time the investment and the return aren't quite there, but some of the time you make incremental gains that just over time it stacks and it sets you apart from
Yeah.
other people that are in the real estate kind of tenant sourcing space. So
No, I think that's fascinating because I do think that's an area where man, there's just a lack in the industry of really good tenant sourcing. So that's cool. I love hearing about that.
yeah.
So, so I understand the model now. I kind of understand, your the investors and the folks that are coming together. Um, I'm interested though, because you alluded to it in your bio. You alluded to kind of a story that was the catalyst to kind of start this off. So, you mind sharing some of that? I mean, what was it that when you had this? What occurred to give you this spark to say, man, we need to pair people up better?
Yeah, I mean, when you're in San Francisco, roommate matching. I mean, it's interesting to see because I was in San Francisco, I was in San Jose, now I'm in San Diego. Got a roommate here, Austin, Kansas. Each city is so different in the way that roommate sourcing has evolved. In San Francisco, one of the things I remember is that you would go and you would be one of 15 people. It was at one specific time at 7 p.m. All 15 of you are going for one room, and so you're talking to the one person that owns the place or has the lease, just like begging them to let you in. In Austin, it was a bit better, more balanced. But in Kansas, it's a little dicey. Like it's a little bit, I would say, Kansas City is a bit, it's not quite as on the cutting edge as kind of San Francisco. And so when I moved there, I was looking for roommates because I was going to buy a house, but I didn't want to buy it right until I knew the area. And so I, did the typical Craigslist thing, and went over to this guy's, when I pulled up in front of this really beautiful, it's like a five bedroom, 5 bath, 3,500 square feet, gorgeous house. And didn't have much information about the guy, but he was a bit older, which was fine. I didn't really care. But I proceeded to show that he had like 13 roommates living in the house. There was actually a triple bunk bed at one point in one of the places. One of the ladies kept a bunch of cats in her room. And then he kind of showed me to the room that I was like potentially gonna be living in. I already had someone living there, which wasn't really in the ad. And he was a pretty huge dude, and he kind of proceeded to like block me from, like, I couldn't get to the door. So I started to have this like miniature fight or flight moment. Like, do I dive to the window? Like, is this the moment when like they find, I'm on the news and like that, they talk about. So there was definitely like, I was like, I kind of, I don't know. It was real dicey. It was real dicey. Probably some meth was happening in the house would be my guess too. Like, so a beautiful house from the outside inside, scary as hell. And it's just like, there's not enough information on Craigslist, or not enough vetting on Craigslist for people to find a good roommate consistently. And even in San Francisco, it's hard. So I think it's inevitable that, the numbers we ran are that there's like between 10 and 20 million people living with roommates today. And they're all like doing it through Craigslist, which I think is like just such a shame. So that's really where HomeRoom is. We want to be the Airbnb of roommate housing, but we want to also provide the house, pair the investor, find the house, find the units for them, so that the process is beautiful for them, for the tenants, that people like make best friends. Maybe people meet their spouses and stuff like, and there's community and connection and all this stuff that roommate housing can bring, if we create the right framework for people. So.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds like you said, a dicey story.
A dicey story.
So to that point, are you because you're controlling the housing, you help select the house, the house is going to be, just a good quality. But then do you have certain standards that you require of the owners to keep up the house? Are the owners totally hands off? You guys are keeping up the house, or how does that process work?
Yeah, so we do operations. So we're a double-sided marketplace, but we also have a technology component and an operations component.
Right.
So we do the maintenance. Our app will collect a few different data points. One is, our roommates can submit a maintenance ticket really quickly in the app, and we'll get out there. Right, we'll dispatch a team. The owner will pay for those repairs, of course. We also have maid service that's monthly, and they kind of give us feedback on every house every month when they're there. So
those are eyes that get in the house every month. That's great. You get
and so we actually track it. It's called maid grades, and so like we found that like people that have worse maid grades have a higher chance of getting pests in the house, and so it's like so that's kind of altered the way we think about house care. And we also do external care, yard care, because we think when you have roommates, you want to make sure that everything's taken care of and the neighbors are happy. So.
Yeah, very cool. So HomeRoom, where does HomeRoom go from here?
Yeah, our goal is to be in 750 cities in the United States. We'd like to take it international. I think probably starting in Canada. One of our co-founders and one of our our sales managers lives up in Northern Canada. So yeah, we're excited. I think that will be our first expansion internationally. I don't think that'll be the next year, probably not the next 2, but in 3. Love to see us move up north. The need for kind of roommate housing, you have like 26% of young adults living with roommates today, is like it's just so universal. It's in Boise, Idaho. It's in, obviously in San Francisco, but it's also in the little towns and cities. And so we want to kind of offer it broadly. It also creates a network effect. So if you live in Austin, you want to move to Des Moines, which I think you should, that would be an interesting choice, but you can actually transfer within our app with a push of a button, right? So you can have that flexibility. you know that you're going to have a good brand that's going to support your move and give you a good place to live with roommates that are compatible. So I think that's the power of kind of the new like living as a service model. And I think with co-living, there's even more advantages than with something like Zeus or, some of these other like long-term extended stay or livable. I think with co-living, it's cooler. You have instant friends in addition to all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So,
I like that, living as a service model.
yeah.
And so I guess that makes a ton of sense. Does it, about the expansion, you mentioned even into smaller towns. So do you see this working in not just the San Franciscos of the world or even the Kansas Cities of the world, but I mean, how small can the markets be where you feel that this will be effective?
Yeah, we think 50,000 or more people is kind of like that's where, below that is probably too small. But anything about 50,000, we think we can do
Yeah.
effectively.
And how do you enter a market like that and source properties?
The good news about real estate sourcing is finding good agents. While it takes a little bit of time and research and interviewing, like you can find somebody to help you with that. If we partner with agents in every city we're in, and we're generally able to expand to a new market in 3 or 4 weeks. Just get an agent, we find a GC we like, we find an interior designer that we like, and we're good to go. And we do a lot of the data analytics and returns and the math and the data and the quant stuff, essentially like the appreciation we expect. All that is done in-house, but it allows us to kind of like go anywhere in the country and say, hey, this is actually the area that we would be willing to have investors buy properties in.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, Johnny, you guys are creating living as a service. I think you got to coin that. And
Thanks.
And I've appreciated all the info. I've definitely learned something new, and it's a new way to invest. If you really want to be hands off, it seems. And before we let you go, I want to take you through our keys to success round. Now, there's 4 questions that I want to ask you. The first one is, if you were going to invest your money with somebody else and you can only ask one question, what would that one question be?
What's the worst thing that could happen?
Yeah. What's that downside risk, right? I think that's a savvy investment question. What are you most proud of in your career?
Yeah, I mean, I'm most proud of my journey at HomeRoom. I emptied my retirement accounts. Don't do that, anyone listening, to start the company, and held on through some pretty tough times during COVID. And I think it looks like we're trending upwards. Looks like things are going to work out. You never really know, but pretty excited to be able to have that, to have experienced that.
That's awesome. And so did you bootstrap it from the start? Have you taken on any seed money at this point?
We bootstrapped the first 18 months. I don't know if I'd try that again. I think everyone only has one bootstrap in them.
Yeah.
Unless they make a lot from the first one, then they bootstrap because they have like 5 million. Then that's a little bit different bootstrap. When you bootstraps in your first company with not that much, it's a good way to experience pain and agony, but it's also a good way to. I guess the big thing for me is I didn't want to take investment dollars before I felt like, hey, this is a good investment for my friends and family, because those are the kind of investors that are like, hey, whatever you want to do, sure, I'm going to invest in you, right? It's like they believe in you too much. And so in a way, like, I think you have to protect them against you not knowing what the hell you're doing for a while. I think anyone's first company, there's some freak shows out there that have like been reading about startups since they were like 12, and like they started little businesses in high school. Maybe this isn't to those people, but for everyone else, it's not a freak show. And just a genius. The first year and a half of you starting your business, you're going to be completely terrible at it. And so taking on money is super risky for them and super risky for your relationship. So I think it was the right call. I think if I were to start a new company again, I've done it. I think it would be less dicey, and then I'd probably be more comfortable. But I think it just really is about, understanding that you're going to have limits. You're going to learn a lot. You may completely fail. We almost did a couple times. But yeah, we're taking on money now. We got into Y Combinator. We're sort of closing a pre-YC round right now, oversubscribed. It was a $500,000 round, but it's going to go a bit above that. And then we're hoping after demo day in YC, we're going to hopefully raise a couple million, 2 to 4 million would be our goal. We think that the model that we've sort of developed is working. It's working for investors, working for us, it's working for tenants. So we'd like to really start to aggressively push to expand it.
Yeah, well, congratulations, man, and wish you the best. I mean, it is an interesting model. It's new. It's leveraging technology. I get the tie-in to the gig economy, and again, the living as a service, and so yeah, I wish you guys the best of luck.
Thanks, man.
As we continue, what is a book that everybody should read?
Everyone should read. I have like 5 that I really like, to be honest. But I think the one that I like to recommend the most, because I don't feel like that many people have read it, is The 50th Law by Robert Greene and 50 Cent. It's a weird time to have a rapper write a book. And Robert Greene wrote it with some help, but the core concept, I think, is super powerful, which is that we live in a time where we have the most fear and anxiety ever, and we are the most cautious ever, because we become so comfortable. But the reality is that we live in a time of absurd safety on a historical basis. And so one of the things that I think can break you out of sort of like this comfort coma is throwing yourself into aggressively difficult situations and then continuing to do that and not being afraid of what will happen, and trusting kind of that you'll fight your way either to failure, which actually can be an okay outcome, or success. But in either case, like you'll part of you will awaken and drive you forward in a way that almost nothing else could. So that's the core premise of the book. I think probably 99.8% of people can benefit from getting that deeper within them in today's society. But it's been really powerful for me too.
Yeah, that's an awesome message. It's really unique, and I can see. I mean, that seems true, and something I try to say is like, you got to become comfortable being uncomfortable, right? And that's part of pushing that. But like you said, in those situations are the only way that you really grow.
Yeah. The further you do, the further you take that, the more pain you'll experience in the short term, but kind of the more growth you'll experience as well. So I guess it just really depends on your pain tolerance, as well as kind of your ambition and hunger to do something substantial. I think it's bad to not do something substantial, but I do think it's bad to live comfortable and not sort of achieve like your limits. Mm-hmm. And so to do that, you can either be super disciplined every morning, or you can throw yourself into something that you have to fight for your survival. Either way works. Some people can't do the first one. So for those, I recommend throwing yourself into super uncomfortable situations.
Very good.
Yeah.
And maybe this is it, but Johnny, what is your number one key to success?
Yeah, I think that really is it, right? Is moving before you're ready. Taking aggressive steps when you may not be ready to do it.
Taking massive action now.
Yep. Yeah.
Right on. Well, Johnny Wolff, thank you so much for coming on the show today. If folks want to learn more about you, they want to learn more about HomeRoom, how can they get in touch?
Sure. Yeah, you can email me at johnny@livehomeroom.com. I do my best to respond to everyone by email every day. And livehomeroom.com is our website, dash invest. That's where you can see how to invest in real estate properties. With us, we also have a fund we're opening up in partnership with Protection Point Advisors, where people can put in cash and the portfolio will buy co-living properties. So those are kind of the few different ways to do it. And that's a bit about us and how to get a hold of me.
Very cool. Well, Johnny Wolff with Home Living, thank you so much for coming on the show, and have a great rest of
Yeah.
the day.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate you having me, man.